I think that was my favourite episode yet.
These witnesses have been brought before you to speak the truth.
What's the difference between witnessing and just looking at something?
All right, everybody, listen up. This mission is highly classified. Do your thing!
What's my thing?
We don't want to draw any attention.
Hey, you've drawn my attention.
Send our friends a message.
What the hell are you doing? You said send them a message. That means phasers.
It means to invite them to dinner.
No, it doesn't.
Hi, I'm Phil. Welcome to my channel where I talk about all the geeky pop culture that I like to consume, including Star Trek. We are talking today about the Lower Decks episode Veritas, the latest episode of Star Trek Lower Decks. And I have to say, straight off the bat, this is my favourite episode. I don't think I've laughed more. I loved the structure of it. I loved everything about it. We'll talk spoilers a bit later on in the episode, in the video. But I will give you a brief summary of what I thought about it, non-spoilers. But I think you've kind of already got the gist. I really liked it. It was a really fun episode. I loved the structure of it. I loved the way that it gave us all four of our characters both together, which doesn't happen that often, but also they each got their own little separate story which they could tell as well, and their own little separate section. And my favourite of those sections by far was Tendy's, so that was good. Second favourite was Rutherford's. So the two characters which I've been saying for ages haven't been getting enough to do on the show definitely shined in this episode. Another thing I liked about this episode is we got to see a lot of our Lower Decks crew interacting with the bridge officers quite a lot. Each of them with different bridge officers in their little back flashback sections, and in very different ways, and it worked so well throughout all of it. We also got some really nice Easter eggs, a really nice cameo, which I'll talk about more in the spoiler section as well. And overall, I don't think I've laughed so much literally out loud at a Lower Decks episode yet. This is definitely my favourite episode. One more thing I'll say on the non-spoiler front is that the opening worked really well with this. It's the second time that we've had an opening that ties directly into the main plot of the series. But whereas I don't feel that really worked last time they did it, I can't remember which episode it was. They were in the conference room. Something was happening. Actually, I can't even remember what it was. But I remember thinking it didn't work very well. Here, I think it worked really well to build tension, create a sense of dread, and you don't know what's happening next. And to sort of it did a really good job of setting up the episode as well. So yeah, it can work when it's not just a separated skit at the beginning. I like the fact that, I've said this before, I like the fact that they are doing different things with the opening pre-credit sequence every time. They're not afraid to, they're not just sticking to a formula with this. They are using it in what they think is the best way for the episode. And I may not always agree, like the last time they tried to tie it directly into the episode. But here, it definitely works. So, with spoiler-free section out of the way, let's talk spoilers. If you haven't seen the episode, maybe go away now, watch it if you can, or come back in several months' time when it's on in your country, and you can watch it if you can't find a way of watching it now. Let's just say that. So what we get in that opening is thrown right into the middle of a story, which is obviously a very well-used storytelling technique. Throw us into the middle and then fill in how they got there later. And we are shown that our Lower Decks four main people are being thrown into some kind of jail situation, some kind of dungeon situation, and they don't know why they're there. They've seen the bridge crew be taken off somewhere else. We don't know why they're there. It's all very ominous. We get a few jokes in there, but generally this actually is probably the most serious of the openings we've had so far. They use it to build up tension, as I said before. It's all very ominous, and we are generally fearful for what's going to happen to them. It's good. And then the platform starts to rise up, and it's kind of a cliffhanger into the rest of the episode then, as we go into the title sequence. I think it did a really good job of setting up what was to come, and to give us the expectations, which at the end of the episode we flipped on their head, but are relatively honoured throughout most of the episode. Because going into this, especially with the rising up of the platform, you kind of already knew that they were going to end up into some kind of courtroom trial situation. It's the trope, and we kind of got that. So we kind of already knew that was going to happen, and I think most of us probably guessed that we were therefore going to be getting the trial and them telling us and having flashbacks to how they got into that situation, and that's kind of what we got as well. Although not so much how they ended up in the jail, but the background to the events that led to them getting in the jail, if that makes sense. So it was all anticipated, but it worked really well. Then we get to the trial proper, and we get these four little stories. Basically, we get each of them gets a chance to testify. They are testifying on being asked to testify on the character and the events of their and the actions of their commanding officers. And what I thought was really clever about this was how they used each of the flashbacks to reveal a bit more about the mission that got them to where they are now. And each of the characters, each of our Lower Decks characters, only really knows what happened to them. And even in the case of Rutherford, doesn't even really know what happened to him entirely. We'll get to that when we talk about Rutherford's bit. But what I liked was that it kind of links in with Boimler's speech at the very end, where he's a very good speech, and he's talking about how they're not told everything. They don't really have a clue what the right arm doesn't know what the left arm is doing. They're not informed on every little thing that goes on because they're just Lower Decks. And here we get to see that exemplified by the fact that they don't even know what the other ones of the Lower Decks have been doing. And so you've got Tendi has gone off on her secret mission. Rutherford had his side mission as well. You got the stuff on the bridge with obviously Boimler and Mariner, and none of them know the other bits of their story. So I think it was really clever that they revealed to us the mission that way, and also it tied really well into what Boimler was saying at the end of the episode. There were some really nice things in each of the testimonies. In Mariner's, when they're on the bridge, I really liked the interaction between, Boimler and Mariner both kind of interacting with the bridge crew there, and them basically messing up because they've been late. They don't really know what the situation is. Boimler getting, all the suggestions wrong. He's told that asks for suggestions, told there's no wrong answers, and then gives wrong answers, and everyone's like, and the doctor who's like, is he kidding? It was brilliant. I really enjoyed that. But then the best joke in that section was definitely Mariner being told to send them a message, and she fires the phasers. You said send them a message, that means phasers. Because it does. When everybody says sinisterly send them a message, it means send them a warning shot, doesn't it? I love that. Then we get Rutherford's, and another thing I really liked about this whole episode and the structure of it is that they used each of the flashbacks not to tell the same story from different angles, not to tell different stories in the same style, but to tell different bits of the story so that we get a whole picture, but in very different ways. So you got the fairly straight Mariner one where she's just described, we get them in the doing some repairs, being called up to the bridge, realizing there's a red alert, rushing to the bridge. Stuff happens. Rutherford's I really liked because it was him. The fact that he kept on blacking out because he was updating his chip in his head under orders from the security chief to do it there and then. And so narratively, we miss bits of the story too. We don't know what's happened in between. Neither does he. Puts us in his position, and it was really fun, and it led to some hilarious moments. My favourite bit from his section was probably when they're trying to steal the bird of prey, and they're on the planet, and this security chief's telling him, "Don't draw anyone's attention." Then some kind of security officer from on the planet comes over and says, "Hey, you've drawn my attention." And of course, Easter egg, we get the fan dance, the Uhura distracting fan dance rears its head again, but this time with Rutherford doing it and not doing a great job. let's be honest. But nice little Easter egg there. And then they somehow end up at Gorm Wedding, and I was literally just laughing my way through this whole thing. It was hilarious. Now, Tendy's was the best one. It was... Tendy, I think, definitely needs more character development. She has been left out on the side quite a bit, I think, throughout this series, and it was really good to see a nice solid chunk for her in this. And it was hilarious. The mistaken identity sort of trope here, where she is there to literally clean the conference room, and then the like top secret squad come in and they refer to her as the cleaner. Are you the cleaner? And she goes, yes, because she's cleaning the conference room, but they mean somebody completely different. And hilarity ensues. I said I was laughing all the way through Rutherford's bit, but genuinely, this bit, I could not stop laughing. Every scene, there was something that made me laugh out loud, and it was absolutely brilliant. And then, she keeps trying to tell them that she's not who once she realizes that they've mistaken her identity. She keeps trying to tell them and just keeps on getting interrupted. And then she goes and kicks Romulan ass with some kind of martial arts we didn't know she had. So that's Rutherford and Tendy now that both have martial arts. Rutherford's because of his chip in his head. Tendy apparently just knows some kick-ass martial arts. Who knew? Such a sweet woman, and suddenly she's now kicking ass. Great. Good on her. And then we get Boimler, who doesn't necessarily flash back to the mission exactly. What he does is he has this big speech, and it was a really good speech. It's kind of Boimler saving the day through making an impassioned speech. I say save the day. I mean, he was saving them from the eels, definitely. But saving the day, there's the twist later on. But he definitely steps up here and speaks from the heart, and it really works. And we do get a few flashbacks in it, but they're not to this mission. They're to side things, very Easter egg heavy side things, because we get the Q cameo. It's been teased in the trailers. We knew it was coming. The Q is here in this episode, voiced by the original actor, whose name escapes me. John DeLacy, is it? Something like that? Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, but it was great to have him back anyway, doing his usual thing in his, encounter at Farpoint robes and judge robes. It was great to have him back. Nice little cameo there. As well as in that bit, we get cameos of salt vampires, which was another hilarious little sort of scene where the second in command guy, Jack somebody, I've forgotten his last name now, Ransom, he is hooking up with this woman, and Mariner warns him that it's a salt vampire. He's like, no, they died off ages ago. He walks off screen and we hear, it's salt vampire. Just brilliant stuff all around in this episode. There's quote after quote from this episode that I just found absolutely hilarious. And then to top it off, at the end of the thing, less of a comedy one, but just more of a nice little reference. Instead of, in his mic drop moment at the end of his speech, Boimler just says, drumhead. Of course, referencing the trial episode of the TNG there. So, nice little references all around in this episode. Some great Easter eggs. It was great to see more of the bridge crew too, because we haven't seen that much of them, which is understandable. They're not the focus of this series. The series is about the lower decks. But it was nice seeing a lot of our characters interact with them more here, and just getting to see a bit more of them. I would really like to see some more of the Doctor, because she's hilarious in small bursts. I would like to see if there's more to her in larger bursts too. So, and the little flashback when Boimler's talking about her just accidentally boarding the wrong ship and assuming that she slipped into a parallel dimension because all the ships look the same and she's gone onto the wrong one. It was funny as well. That was good. But then, of course, we get to the twist, which is that it wasn't a trial after all. It was a party, and this person was just trying to get them to praise their bridge crew, when actually they've been going that they're sometimes a bit incompetent, and so are we, and nobody really knows what they're doing all of the time, and that's okay, because, nobody's perfect. And and the guy's very annoyed that his party has been ruined. It was a good twist. I didn't see it coming, honestly. I didn't. So, fair play to them. That was a nice twist at the end there. I was wondering how they were going to get out of it. This, as I said, I think is my favourite episode yet. I just had the most fun with it. And that's what I'm looking for out this show. You know, you could analyse whether or not the theories of storytelling and all that sort of stuff if you want to. If that's your jam, you can absolutely do that. But to me, the most important judgment on an episode is how much fun I had watching it. If I didn't have fun, especially for a show like this, that's what I'm after for a show like this, fun. It's an animated comedy. I want fun. If I have fun, it's a good episode. That's the main criteria. And I had a lot of fun with this episode. However, and I don't usually speak about the forthcoming episodes, but just based on the Next Time trailer, that looks like it could be a very fun episode too, that will pastiche and gently mock the movie side of the Trek franchise when they go onto the holodeck and Mariner rewrites Boimler's programs to make it more cinematic and movie-like. And I spotted in one scene we get lens flares, so I'm sure there's going to be lots of gentle, nostalgic and light-hearted ribbing of the Star Trek movies in all their forms in this particular episode coming up. So who knows? This potentially, maybe next week, will even top it. I like the look of it. I like the concept of it. But for now, this episode, Veritas, definitely my favourite one so far. What did you think? Is this your favourite? Did you like the structure of it, the style of it like I did? Or was it not your bag? Let me know in the comments below. I'm happy to hear all opinions. And I will see you next week for another review. Goodbye.